Hey, what's your self-talk? Jabari is here from What's Your Self-Talk podcast. And listen, I want you to download Anchor right now. Because chances are you're listening to this and you're saying, I got some things I want to share. I have some things that I've wanted to put in a podcast form. Here's the opportunity. Anchor is free. You can do it from your phone and you can be on all the different podcast stations all in one app. Okay. So what I need you to do is stop waiting for the perfect time, analysis paralysis. Do it now. You'll thank me later. What's your self-talk? Hey, what's your self-talk? This is your host, Jabari McLennan, and I'm here again with another What's Your Self-Talk podcast. And the goal of this podcast is to be able to challenge you, to be able to think about new ways that's going to encourage you, and it's going to allow you to start thinking about things that's going to expand your potential. And today is a pretty exciting day. So this episode is going to be dedicated to Freedom Friday. So I'm going to first explain what that means. What is Freedom Friday? How did it start? And some of the feedback I've been getting on it as I first released it and start sharing it with others. So Freedom Friday is you being able to claim the Friday that you want to have. So let's face it, when we look at Fridays, most of people in America, I don't have a percentage, but I know, well, let's put it this way. We know 78% of America lives paycheck to paycheck. Now, we know due to this pandemic that's currently going on, that has hit a lot of people hard who was living paycheck to paycheck and suddenly been taken away from them. Thank God for the stimulus check, right? But let's just say if we live paycheck to paycheck, that means we're just really living for the next day. And this is something we explored when we was talking about in our last podcast with me and my wife. And for people who live that lifestyle, when Friday come, they get a paycheck, and then all of a sudden that paycheck goes and take care of maybe half or all the bills, and then you have no free time to be able to think, I can go enjoy myself to look at a movie, or I can go spend time with my family, or I can go travel. Most of the time, you just paid all your bills, and now it's a burden because now you have to sit back and you can't enjoy yourself, or you can't go take your kids out anywhere, or you can't spend time with your kids because you have to go work. So Fridays has become a burden for so many people. And my goal and my challenge is let's flip that and let's start working towards something that's going to allow us to free us from that mindset, from that paycheck to paycheck, that's going to free us from having to live a life where we are dreading Friday. I want you to be able to look forward to Friday. So that's where Freedom Friday comes from. Now, I originally started this a very long time ago. It was a couple years ago when me and my wife first started our journey, and our Freedom Friday was defined a little bit different. It was called Cash Flow Friday. So for some of you who don't know, me and my wife are real estate investors, and we started roughly now over 3 years ago. And if you listen to the last podcast, we kind of dived into this a little bit deeper. Just a small recap is we got to a point where we said, okay, it's time for us to be able to do something that's going to leave a legacy, that's going to leave, us to spend time with each other and build our family. And so this is what led to us is saying, hey, we had friends that would tell us more about real estate. We started looking into it, and then we just went head first. And for us, when you have real estate, which is a piece of property that is cash flowing, and cash flowing is real simple. It's just everything after your mortgage and your reserve that you put aside, and including your insurance and taxes that's built into your reserve. Then you have the cash flow after that. That is generally always a positive number. It should be always a positive number that you get and cash flowing as many so cash flowing as many properties as possible is what's going to allow us to be able to have that freedom. And so when every Friday used to come around, it was a game called Cash Flow by Robert Kiyosaki, who is the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which is one of the biggest personal financial books pretty much ever. And that game taught you what are the decisions and what are the things that you needed to do so that you can personally get out of what is called the rat race. And literally what the rat race is, what I explained to you, living paycheck to paycheck, barely keeping your head above water and not really having nothing to look forward to. And that's that Joyful Friday. And so he would teach you, hey, how to make good decisions for yourself so that eventually you can get out of this rat race. And so in my mind, I am a guy who learned just like everybody else, I think, through repetition. But mine is like I can look at the same thing and I can read the same thing and get something different every single time. And so that's kind of what this game is, because you start tapping into your mind of, why do I make this financial decision? Is it personal? Is it tied back to how I grew up? Is it tied back to something or a bad decision that I made? So it really, really gets you to start understanding, hey, why do I make these decisions? And then you can get a chance to make a mistake, and you make a mistake in this game and you can kind of fix it because you say, okay, I want to play this game again, because next time when this opportunity arises, I'm going to not make that decision that made me, bankrupt, or I'm not going to make that decision that kept me in a rat race so much longer. So great game. If you want to be able to get a chance to learn more about it, it's just called Cash Flow Quadrant. No, that's the book, Cash Flow Quadrant. So it's called Cash Flow, and it's on Rich Dad's website, and he has a free version online you can be able to play. So, but every Friday, what I will focus on is I wanted to increase our cash flow. And increasing cash flow is buy another property. And the best way I will buy another property, if I was going to play this game, because it was going to keep fixing my mind on the decisions I needed to make for us as a family to get to that point where every Friday we are getting rent checks in, and that's going to replace our paychecks. And so we, as of late last year, was able to finally get to our first number of us getting to that financial freedom. And so that, as exciting as it was, that was what Cash Flow Friday was. But I understood that everybody's not going to have, the desire to be in real estate. Everybody's not going to, determine their freedom as doing real estate. So I kind of turned it around and just said, hey, what is a Freedom Friday for you? And so that's how it started for me personally and my family. And that is pretty much me switching around and us focusing on you who's listening to this and saying, okay, what are some of the things that you want to start focusing on? And what are the Fridays? How do you want Fridays to start looking for you? Because this kind of is the first step. I had a few people reach out to me that said, I had one person specifically that reached out to me and said, hey, can you give us some steps on what it looks like, on how to overcome, that poverty mindset? And I think the very, very first thing you have to do is to say, this is what I want to do, or this is what I want to accomplish, because our minds is such a powerful machine. And when we can allow ourselves to focus on something in a direction to go, then we are now going to tap into something in our brains called the RAS, which is the reticular activating system. And basically, whatever you choose to focus on, that is what you're going to see. So you ever decided that you wanted to go buy a car, and then all of a sudden, when you say, this is the car I want, what happened, right? You start driving around, I'm like, man, I never seen this car before. Because now you're narrowing your focus on something specific. And so how our brain works is when we paint that picture, when we say this is what we want, well, that's when we are taking control of our RAS. And our RAS say, okay, you want this, cash flow for yourself, well, then I'm going to start showing you, and it's going to start poking out. So if you are wanting to be able to kind of be a part of this, I've had people who have shared their idea of what Freedom Friday. And then today I had a young lady who was able to break it down, and she talked about several different layers. And I love it because she talked about the mental, the spiritual, and then the financial. And the thing I loved about her and what she shared was being able to see all the different things specifically that she wanted to experience freedom. And I love it because everyone has a different definition of it. And my goal is to be able to expose that and to push you to be able to speak on it, because when you do that, you are allowing yourself to say, this is what I want. And you shouldn't be ashamed of that, because it is your ability to be able to speak on it that gives you the power and the confidence in yourself. And then when you're around other people, then that's when you say, when you're around other people that actually share a vision, that want to reach that financial freedom, Freedom Friday, just like you, but it can be completely different. Well, that empowers you because you realize you're not by yourself. The biggest problem that we have is people believe that they have to be alone in this journey. And that's my goal for this podcast. That's my goal for just in life, is to encourage you. You're not alone. Just because you specifically want to focus on your Freedom Friday and you want to focus on your mental health, and somebody else want to focus on their financial health, somebody else want to focus on their spiritual health, no one is better than the other, because all of us are going towards the same thing, freedom. And this is something that I want you guys to check out every Friday. And I want you to be able to see the people that come forward and sharing these stories. And so today I have a great young lady that you're going to hear me be able to read what hers is. And you'll see a small pause between this, and I'm going to read it. But I want you to understand that you have to commit yourself, and you have to look deep inside yourself and say, what is it that I really want in life? What is it that I desire, but I'm so afraid to even say or to even think about it? All right. So I'm going to take a small break, and I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to read that, and then we're going to wrap it up. Okay.
FREEDOM. Freedom. I was posed the question, what does freedom mean to you? Freedom can mean so many things, but freedom for me is three things: spiritual freedom, mental freedom, and financial freedom. Let's talk spiritual freedom. It's something that can't be taken away from me. It gives my life meaning and purpose. It penetrates far beneath the surface of human life itself and reveals my innermost self, my true self. My self that is not defined by the words of the world, but defined by Christ Himself. It's freedom from death caused by all sin, and it's the freedom to live in harmony with mind, body, and soul. It allows me to be called by my name instead of my sin. It's the freedom to rest in peace and assurance, knowing that I am the daughter of the King. Spiritual freedom also helps me to achieve mental freedom. Sometimes our thoughts of ourselves or thoughts given to us by others hold us in bondage, creating thoughts within ourselves that can cause us to self-destruct. Being able to have mental freedom is to have a renewed mind in which you know who you are and whose you are. It allows you to not be crippled by how others might judge you, try to shame you, or try to label you. It allows you to be your perfectly imperfect self and live transparent without being jailed to the thought, What will others think? Lastly, financial freedom. The ability to live life free of debt to others and quit your job if you choose to do so. It's the ability to not worry when that unexpected loss of employment or emergency comes up. Financial freedom gives you the ability to make life decisions without being overwhelmed or stressed. It's the ability to attend every school function your child has. It's the ability to invest in your marriage, your children, your health, or your future. And it's the ability to serve when your heart and soul feels called without feeling like you can't. Financial freedom is you controlling your finances instead of being controlled by them. This is freedom to me.
Okay, I love when I read that. It just even gives me more encouragement to be able to think of how when we put what we want and we put it in words and we speak those things out loud, whether that's on a sheet of paper, whether that's in a video form, whatever it is, it's empowering. And I'm pretty sure when you heard that, you were encouraged on so many different things. And that's it. We're all different, and that's completely fine. But the thing you need to do, you have to identify that for yourself. All right. So listen, if you want to be able to be part of Freedom Friday, I just ask one thing, that you get one of our shirts. It's simply $25, and you send in a video, or you send in what that means for you. And this is going to be part of our podcast. It's going to be part of the content that I'm just going to continue to share, because in order for you to take that first step out of that poverty mindset that you want to break, that so many people want to get out of, but they're afraid. Well, you got to take that first step out of the comfort zone. And there's so many people who make videos, who send them in, and they even say, hey, I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. But that's just it. And the fact that freedom and health is the new wealth. See, your wealth is being able to not only speak on it, but claim it, but strive for it. And then as you achieve it, you are living wealthy because you are claiming your freedom and your health. All right. So I thank you for listening to this episode of What's Your Self-Talk. A special release on Freedom Friday. And always, if you get the shirt, please tag Freedom Friday, tag Jabari McGlennon, and I would love to be able to hear or see how you define your Freedom Friday. All right. So thank you for listening. What's Your Self-Talk? We'll talk to you next week.